On August the 22nd of 1944, we were at the air base, but we were not on the mission. However, the German fighters had attacked our 451st Bomb Group, and we lost a third of our planes on August the 22nd. Now, the next day, someone up above decided it would be a good idea if we wiped out the German airfield in that area. So we were loaded up with what is called fragmentation bombs, kind of like a picket fence where the bombs come out of the bomb bay. They spread out over a wide area in helter-skelter fashion. And one thing about it, though, is these kind of bombs kind of prevented a real tight formation, because these bombs could also take out our own planes. So right from the get-go, we were a little more vulnerable than most. Well, the Germans must have known that we were coming, because things happened real fast. We had cloud cover below us, and the first thing that happened, I was in the top turret, and I could rotate and see just about everything going on. The first thing that happened is a B-17 appeared off our right wing, just out of gunfire. And we didn't know what to make of this. No one had ever told us that we might be, the victims of a German B-17. Well, that's what it was. It was a command ship to command the fighter attack. And the fighter attack came out of the clouds from below. No fighter ever got high enough for me to shoot at it from the top turret. But in very short order, I think the Germans had 60 fighters going after our bomb group, and we quickly lost another third of our planes. There were planes exploding, a fire. It was something to behold for anyone, but particularly for 18-year-olds on the first mission. And so at some point, we decided that the B-17 was an enemy, not a friend, and we fired on that, and they kind of dived down. And the nose gunner did not see a German plane. Our nose gunner did not see a German plane. I saw a lot of them, but I couldn't fire at them. And out of our formation of the bomb group, fortunately again, because Captain Hopkins was being considered for a wing position, our plane was in number 2 position in the lead squadron. Ordinarily, new crews were not accorded that luxury. So we've always felt that we probably, if it had been just a second lieutenant as our pilot, we probably would have been in one of those rear squadrons that lost, incidentally, the 2 rear squadrons lost half of their planes. So being somewhat of a mathematician, I figured this way. If in 2 days you lose a third of your planes on successive days, the idea of flying 35 missions is kind of remote. But with good fortune, and I'll just mention one other incident, because we lost all these crews, our crew was flying virtually every mission. And someone, again, up there, decided that our crew should have some R&R on the Isle of Capri for about 3 days. So we were on the Isle of Capri on Friday the 13th of October of that year. And it was just pure happenstance that we were gone. But again, my 727th Squadron sent out 7 planes, 2 came back. So, you had to be lucky to get through 35 missions. So I'm sure everyone here that did accomplish that realized how fortunate they were no explanation for it, mostly other than in our case, one factor was the fact that Captain Hopkins was our pilot initially. And and that was our first mission, and we had a little different exposure, not too different from Lynn's, but nevertheless, it was a real awakening. And so I flew most of my missions when I was 18 years old. And we did have one tail gunner injured. We had another tail gunner that could not go on the missions. One morning, he just couldn't get on the plane. And our third tail gunner was an interesting case. He was shipped all the way from the 8th Air Force down to Italy to become our tail gunner. And we didn't realize that he had been with the crew and had missed the mission, and the crew had gone down. And that's why he was available. And he didn't talk about it, but we found that out. So all of us that, shall we say, got to that level where we qualified for going home after 35 missions, 50 sorties, if you want to term it the way some people speak of their record, we realize just how very, very fortunate we are. Now, it's time for our final speaker, and once again, lucky win. I was at the Anthem Country Club. I think I was probably in the steam room. And you know how people talk loosely in those circumstances. And a fellow said, well, do you know Tom Kirk? I said, no, I never met Tom. Boy, said, he was a wonderful guy. Said, he was in prison in the Vietnam Hilton for 5.5 years. Man, that got my notice. And very quickly, I had the privilege of meeting Tom Kirk. Now, I would have to say this. Along the way, I've had the good fortune to meet 3 U.S. presidents and their wives, danced in the White House, met many business executives of prominence, and there is no one I have met that I admire as much as Tom Kirk. No one. Tom is, you might say, the all-American person that most of us would like to be, and he does it with such ease, you would never know, just in meeting him, that he had anything to do with being imprisoned and so forth. But let's say that his war record is something to behold. He was a little young to get in the European War, but man, he didn't miss any after that. He was in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and just as an example, he received 3 Silver Stars, 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 9 Air Medals, and of course the Purple Heart. And I knew, because he excelled in business after he got out of the service, most of all, he could shoot his age in golf, which I never was able to do, and he did it with such ease. But he was very dedicated to achieving that, and I knew that there was no Vietnam fighter plane that could have brought him down, and that was true. It was enemy and aircraft fire. But I think we're all really privileged that Tom is here today to be with us. I think Ann is here too. She is his lovely wife. And he's kind enough to spend time with us and tell us about what it was like to be in the Hanoi Hilton. Often in solitary confinement, certainly was the victim of a lot of cruelty. And so, Tom, if you're ready to take the stage, why, please do.